So next up, podcast listeners, Showdown at the Federal Election Commission and showdown in Congress over the change in election laws, at least the change that the Democrats want to see. So Mitch McConnell got into it at a markup in the Senate over Senate Bill 1. And as you can imagine, Senate Bill 1 is about completely and utterly changing the United States election laws. So Schumer and McConnell sparred over Trump state election laws and showdown over Democrat-backed election bills. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell and Majority Leader Chuck Schumer clashed Tuesday at a Senate Rules Committee markup of S1, a Democrat-backed elections bill that would dramatically change the role of the federal government in elections. The two party leaders are members of the Rules Committee, but barely appear to speak at hearings and markups. They were both at the contentious hearing for the bill in March, where they traded accusations of shame. Similar fireworks are happening shortly after the markup began on Tuesday, with Schumer tying GOP opposition to the bill to former President Donald Trump's false election claims and election security bills in state legislatures that Democrats oppose. So as you can imagine, the Democrats don't want states to run elections. They want to federalize everything. That's the Democrat thing, right? They don't want there to be differences between the states. They don't want there to be places you can move to that are better than other places. They want to make everything equally miserable because that is the Democrat way. And so Mitch McConnell talks about the key changes to the election laws that the Democrats want to see. And one of the things the Democrats want is on the Federal Election Commissions, on the Federal Election Commission, there are 3 Democrats and 3 Republicans. And that occurred after Watergate. And so, as you can imagine, since there is a deadlock between the 3 versus 3, when there is movement on the FCC, the movement on the FEC, the movement occurs because there is a consensus that something must be done. But the Democrats don't want that. They want to stack the FEC. Sounds like stacking the Supreme Court. It's the Democrat way. When you can't make the changes that you want, don't go through the system. Cheat and change the system, change the rules, because the rules aren't working for you. So you must change the rules rather than try to build a constituency that actually supports what you're trying to do. So here is Mitch McConnell talking about that key change at the markup, and here it is.
The FEC was designed after Watergate to be bipartisan, an even split, 3-3. So let me dwell on that for a minute. After Watergate, my party, the Republican Party, was just about wiped out. The overwhelming Democratic majorities could have done anything they wanted to. It never occurred to them that the Federal Election Commission, set up to police how we run campaigns, would be made a partisan entity. They could have done it then. Now we're in a 50-50 Senate and a narrowly majority in the House. And this audacious move wants to turn the judge of our democratic process into a partisan prosecutor. Talk about shame. If anybody ought to be feeling any shame around here, it's turning the FEC into a partisan prosecutor, the majority controlled by the president's party, to harass and intimidate.
Yeah, so you have a Democrat Party who not only wants to stack the Supreme Court so they can know the outcome of any future lawsuit that is brought to bear by the bills they're trying to pass, but they now want, in Senate Bill 1, the Democrats want the Federal Election Commission to have 3 Republicans and 3 Democrats, and then whoever the sitting president is would appoint a 7th person, which would then use the Federal Election Commission to attack and to weaponize the FEC against the opposing party. And that's the Democrat way, right? It's not enough. It's not enough that the states changed election laws without legislatures. Okay, so in Pennsylvania, they changed election laws without even having the state legislature act. And that, of course, is against the law and unconstitutional. They did the same thing in Wisconsin, and they did the same thing in a number of other states. That wasn't enough. Now the Democrats have learned that, now that they realize that works, and they've learned from that success, now they want to do the same thing at the national level. And why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? Because you were successful. And so we have, and I have to admit, of course, obviously Mitch McConnell is the world's most boring speaker. But there is one thing that is true about Mitch McConnell, and that is he's a substantive speaker on the key issues of the day. It is substantive and it is important. And he's able to say it in a slow way so that people can understand and realize that this is a tectonic change the Democrats want to engage in, and elections will never be the same if this bill is to pass. And the Democrats don't care. They don't care. It just shows you that we have, in my opinion, two parties in the United States. One party that believes in rules and believes in the Constitution of the United States, and another party that doesn't. And if you want to know why organizations like the Convention of States is growing so quickly, it's not just because of the incredible inflationary policies of course, the Biden administration, and we all see inflation, but also because of the fact that people are joining the Convention of States because they see the Democrats imposing these crazy policies like what they're trying to do on elections. And they're trying to literally take over the United States of America so that it's a one-party state. We see what that looks like in New York already, New York City. It's a one-party city. It's not going well. We see what it looks like in New York State. It's a one-party state. It is not going well. We see what it looks like in Baltimore City. It's a one-party city. It is not going well. They want to bring that success to the United States of America. And everybody knows that it is not sustainable. And that's why the Convention of States organization is growing so rapidly, because they want an Article 5 convention as spelled out in the Constitution of the United States, so that there can be term limits, so there can be limits to federal spending. And so there can be more limits imposed on the federal government that constantly tries to usurp the power of the states, but more importantly than that, tries to usurp the power of the people. And I know from me, from my perspective, it's a fantastic organization, and I highly recommend that you go online now and you join that organization. They are doing God's work as far as I'm concerned, and it's only going to get more and more popular as the Democrats continue to ruin the country and as the country club Republicans continue to help them.